Welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast, where we spark conversations that set you up for real estate success. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tanya, and each week we bring you expert tips on navigating Northern Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you thrive. Thanks for joining us again today. Today, we're going to dive into the topic of why your first property that you purchase should be an income-producing property. Now, I just had a great conversation yesterday with a prospective homebuyer that gave me a call, and she is looking for her first property and would like it to be a duplex or greater. We talked about all of the great benefits to that sort of scenario. And Tyler, you yourself have a really good experience on income property purchasing as your first property. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you went about it?
Yeah. So obviously we're both huge proponents of, buying what you can afford, and especially when you're making your first real estate purchase, having, a secondary unit or buying a duplex or a triplex and kind of negating the mortgage payment. But when me and Mel were looking for our first property, she kind of wanted more single family. I was more investor kind of focused. So we ended up picking a new Sudbury bungalow, which is like the perfect duplex conversion. There's a front door and a back door. Usually one of the stairs are right in front of the door. So it's like you walk in, you go downstairs. It's like the most simple conversion that you can make.
So was it already a duplex when you bought it, or was it just a bungalow?
So it was just a bungalow. I think they were using it as a student rental when we did buy it. But yeah, so we basically added a kitchen downstairs. We built a bedroom because they had a big long rec room. So we made a family room. So it was 2 bedrooms. A bathroom was already there. 1 bedroom was already there. Laundry was already down there. So it was perfect. We basically added 1 wall for a bedroom. The window was already there. And then we built the kitchen. And so it was very easy. I think at that point, we probably spent $10,000 getting it ready for our first tenants. We bought it in June. By September, we had tenants downstairs, and they were paying us at that, like, mortgage payment was about $1,100 a month, and our first tenants were paying us $1,100.
Oh wow!
So we lived in our first house off of utilities, basically, which back then was $400 a month.
Right.
And that that was a huge segue into creating wealth, saving some of that money. We didn't touch any of the rent. We just left it in the account. And then that helped us, the next year buy the next triplex that we did. So, especially and it depends on age. Like, people that are listening to us in like Toronto, they're going to be, mid 40s. And there was actually an article, like, the average home buyer, not first time home buyer, but the average home buyer right now is 56 years old.
Oh, wow.
And average, I think it was first time home buyers, it was in their 40s.
Oh, wow.
So, like, the majority, when you're talking to, like, big metropolitan cities, it's a little bit different. You might be at a different stage in life. Mm-hmm. But in Sudbury, you're, early 20s when you're looking at your first house. Chances are you don't have kids. You might have a pet. So do you need 2,000 square foot house? Chances are you don't. Mm-hmm. You can live off 1,000 square feet, especially when somebody below you or above you is paying for your mortgage.
Yeah. That's one of the discussions that we actually had at the office the other day, right? We had that top RBC executive come in and speak with us. And one of the things, we had sort of a roundtable discussion was, like, the space that we're so used to here in our region, especially in North America in general, but especially Sudbury. You're so used to having, 1,200 square feet for a 2-bedroom, great space for open concept, having, a dining space and a living space. But in other locations, certainly in larger cities, and if you go to Europe, people are used to living in much smaller spaces. So first of all, do we need all that space to ourselves, especially when you're just starting out? So if it means switching from a 2-bedroom apartment where you're spending, now you're spending probably $1,700 a month on a 2-bedroom, could you then translate that into home ownership? Or maybe you're still spending close to $1,500 to $1,700 a month, but you have an income suite generating some income and helping you pay down that equity and helping you actually probably get into home ownership a little bit faster than you might just on your own. So maybe some of it is our mindset as individuals,
Usually.
getting into home ownership is like, do you need a whole house with a basement and rec room? Sure, that's all amazing. But if you can't afford that right off the bat, why not just sort of, tailor your expectations a little bit smaller and get something that has an income producing suite?
Absolutely. And I mean, on the mortgage side of it, if it's legal, and sometimes when it's not legal, if it's there and, it's a mortgage helper as well. So they'll be able to take either 50% or 100% of your rental income in that property and apply it to, your what you can afford to spend, right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of an untapped market as well for some people. Some people know about that. But I think it's like, why would you not at this point, especially when you're like early 20s? And I talked to a couple of my, I have a cousin that's thinking about doing it now. And I'm like, you don't necessarily need a secondary unit either. If you buy, 3 or 4 bedroom house, put your friends in there. They're like, well, which friend is going to want to live with me? Which one doesn't? Why would you want to spend $1,700 on a 2-bedroom apartment when you can live with a friend for, $750, you charge them $750 a bedroom or whatever,
Yeah.
So I think you can house hack, you can buy a duplex. There's like multiple ways to get into your first property. You just have to do it.
Yep. I recently, just in the past year, I had a couple, actually 2 couples that were moving from Guelph into our city. And they were actually, 2 couples, all 4 working individuals. They were looking at purchasing a home in that region where the average home price is over $800,000. And they were together, like 2 sisters and their husbands, their partners. They were going to buy a home together.
Okay,
together, because
cool.
that's what they could afford in that region. And I think that's a great idea. If that's how you're going to get into the house, that is going to be your first step into property ownership, do it. That's amazing. However, then they came to Sudbury and they were, because our home prices are half that, they were each able to then purchase properties on their own. But still, I think that idea of, maybe not multi-generational, but sort of, co-living, co-ownership with people that you know and trust, certainly purchasing a home together is a great other option that you could do just to get into the market. You look at it like an investor, like you look at it like you're doing a joint ventureship or something, right? 2 friends, 2 business partners, you write up an agreement, you buy a home, you figure out how you're going to live together. And then you also maybe plan for that eventual breakup, that disposition of the property, or someone wants to move out. How are you going to do that? But it's a great way for 2 young people or 2 people just starting out to get into home ownership.
Yeah. So that's on the purchase side of it. And then what you're just talking about, this, like when you can save your mortgage payment, or maybe let's say most of your mortgage payment, when you can put that back in your bank and save it, that's easily the most simple way to save for your next property. So make your first property, the 3-year, 4-year plan, even 5-year plan, stay in there for 5 years, and then you're ready to refinance, you're ready to purchase either another income producing, because it is addictive. After you taste your first one, you're going to want more. But, even if you keep that one as a rental or sell it and then buy your kind of forever home or move up home, let's say a family home, it sets you up for a future. It's amazing.
It's a first step into your sort of wealth development plan, right? Maybe you don't intend on being a landlord for having, 10 units or whatever. Some people have crazy number of doors, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, it can be a first step into home ownership. And then, like you said, you save that down payment and you use it towards the next thing. Maybe it's a cottage property. Maybe it's your next home, or maybe it's another income producing property.
Yeah.
Or maybe you use it for an investment of some sort. But it really is a great step to buy that first property, save your money, start building that equity, and use that for another investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you've bought your first property, let's say you bought a duplex or you converted a single family home into a duplex, what's nice now is the government is giving some incentives, certainly with municipalities relaxing their zoning requirements to allow for 3 and potentially 4 units on a single family lot. And I think there are some additional loans that the government may be giving out. Certainly, we don't really know of anything here, but have you sort of heard of other opportunities for building additional units?
So I think it's the city of Hamilton. They're giving they call it a forgivable loan, but they're giving individuals that have houses already to either build a second, building on their property, or renovate what they have in their house already, to add another and they call it an additional dwelling unit, an ADU, but they're given a $50,000 forgivable loan to be able to do that work. And I think there's a mortgage. I don't know if it's not CMHC, but I believe it's a mortgage where they can refinance up to 90% of the property, pull out the money, and be able to do the.
Yes.
And I haven't heard of anybody that actually did it because it just came out in January.
I think it was January 15th that they allowed for you to do that refinance up to 90% to do that. It's probably a lot more common in bigger markets.
For sure.
I would think markets where the purchase price is a lot higher, and certainly moving from one property to the next there's a little bit more barriers in there than in our city necessarily. But I think anything that the government can do to incentivize people to build additional housing. Yeah. I mean, that's what they're relying on, right? They're relying on the individual homeowner, landowner, the individual developers to be adding these additional units to our cities. And it's nice to see, if they are going to prioritize densification in the city core, where we have services, transit services, and all sorts of auxiliary services to increase that densification. But it's nice to see that there's actually another city that's giving out forgivable loans to add housing.
City of Sudbury, take note.
Yeah, maybe we need it here. That would be a great incentive.
Absolutely.
So you buy your first property, let's make it an income producing property. If it's not already, maybe you turn it into an income producing property, and there's the ability to add perhaps a third unit and build up yet wealth.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So if you have any questions about what we were talking about today, if you're interested in buying an income producing property or adding one to your house, feel free to reach out anytime. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the TNT podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave us a comment, subscribe, and share with a friend who might be interested in real estate.
We'll catch you next time. And until then, stay ahead in real estate.